What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Today, Bitcoin is sitting at $69,500. So, I wanted to discuss uh, Bitcoin's price as well as some altcoins. But first, I wanted to take a look at a few other things and give you a little story on my background and how I began trading. So we'll get into all that. If that sounds good, be sure to hit the like button. And if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. And let's get started. All right, guys. Right now, Bitcoin is sitting at $69,500. We have this uh, pennant here that Bitcoin is just ranging in between, and it looks like Bitcoin is about to break out to the upside. This is a bull flag pattern. So I could see Bitcoin retesting those highs here very soon. We also have the RSI just starting to uptick. So that is good for the bulls as well. Um, Next, let's take a look at the SPY, and I really want to take some time here and explain what I am seeing. I have been studying the markets for about almost 20 years now, and what I see here is very bullish overall. Um, but I just want to break that down. This is the weekly time frame. And you can see here on the RSI, we are just on the stochastic RSI. We're just starting to tick up right now, sitting at 527 on the SPY. But what I wanted to point out here is that we had this big area of sideways chop and accumulation during 2022. Once we broke out of that, we ran, came back down, retested that, and then ran again. And generally speaking, this happens in stages of three. So this being the first, then the pullback, the second, then the next pullback. And now it looks like we are getting ready for that third leg on the stock markets. So that is important to keep in mind. Um, as I mentioned, I also want to share some of my story with you just to let you know how I got into this. I was an engineer 15 years, invested in 401ks, um, but I began trading during the 08-09 crisis, and that's when I bought my first stocks in '09. I believe it was June, right after we pretty much had confirmed the bottom back in March, and we had a couple months. And so I made my first trades then, and I did like a 4x on my money in, I think it was like a year or so. I don't remember the exact time period. That was my first trade. And I'm not really a day trader. I'm more of an investor and a swing trader. I take some day trades here and there when I see setups, but what I wanted to point out is the second biggest investment I ever made in my life and the best returns was during COVID. And so I just wanted to take a little time and explain what I saw there. So originally when I started this channel, I I planned to make videos talking about personal finance and stuff like that. All the stuff I learned in my 20s, but that stuff to me just wasn't really that interesting anymore. And I found trading to be a lot more profitable. So that is why I'm making these style videos. But anyway, guys, so what I saw in 2019, I left my job in August, and in October, I noticed something strange going on in the market. And so I sold uh, a pretty healthy portion, about a quarter of my overall portfolio. And I just knew something was coming. It was the same thing I saw back in '07 and '08. I remember thinking in '07, '08, I had just bought my first uh, nice car, and I just remember looking around and everybody was buying nice cars and houses and TVs and all that stuff. And I just remember thinking to myself that time when I was pumping gas one day, I was like, something doesn't seem right. And that's about the time we started seeing the stock market begin to roll over. Um, so I remember what that felt like. And that felt the same way in 2019. It just felt like everybody was out spending money like crazy, and I had no idea it would be COVID. But I did have a feeling something was coming. And so I went to go help a friend move, pack up his apartment. He was getting ready to move and stuff. And so, anyway, I was out in California visiting him, and whenever uh, they started talking about COVID in March, and then President Trump came on and said that they're shutting down the shipping lanes from Europe for manufacturing. I was in car manufacturing. Um, they, I knew the stock market was about to really see a big drop, and I was getting excited about that, and because I already had a big cash pile on the side, and so I watched the stock market play out that week. Um, I was there about a week visiting him, and we started discussing different things, and we both started kind of buying in a little bit. But what I did over those next couple of weeks is I end up deploying the majority of my cash, um, and pretty much was buying right down here on these wicks. And so yeah, that turned out to be really well. And these were just average run of the mill companies like cruise lines and stuff like that. Of course, they got hit hard, but yeah, I basically did like a 3.5x on that. And but what I wanted to really point out here, I just want to share that story with you so you understand where I'm coming from. Uh, is if we look at the S&P or the SPY, you had the recovery in '08, '09. Then once it broke out, you had the first leg up, a second leg up. Of course, we had the COVID crash, and then a third leg. Now, this is on the monthly. And so when we go back to the weekly chart, we have the same pattern playing out. One, two, and so we should be setting up for a third leg that goes much higher on the SPY, which is good for all the markets. All right, guys, let's move on to the dollar, and I also wanted to show you something here. Um, Basically, the dollar has been in this ascending parallel channel, and right now it's sitting at 104.25. But you see we have this box right here, which is currently acting as support. And I think what we're probably about to see is the dollar start coming down. It might come down to this 102.50 area. And we can zoom in on this later. But uh, I just want to focus here more on the longer term because it's always good to zoom out and get a better understanding of where the overall markets are going. So many people want to try to jump in when everything is going up like it did in 2021 just to lose all their money. I know people who did that. So don't do that. But anyway, we've got the dollar coming down. If it loses this 102.50 area, we're probably going to go back down and retest that. And that just kind of seems to make sense kind of over the next year or so to me, because eventually the Fed's going to have to start cutting rates. They are going to start printing more money to support the system, and that will devalue the currency. All asset prices go up. And so that's something to just keep an eye on, because as the dollar goes down, asset prices will go up. Up next, we got the 18-year real estate cycle. And so right now we are about right here on this cycle. And so all asset prices should continue to rise, probably somewhere into 2025. I'm a little bit divided if it's early or if it's late. I kind of tend to lean towards this may happen quicker than we think. And we can get more into that, but that's just kind of my thought process. So right now is your last chance to catch this last up leg for about the next 12 to 18 months, with a lot of sectors, particularly the markets in general. But will be certain sectors that do better even whenever the markets do come down. One sector that I'm really liking is emerging markets, world markets, and this is the CQQQ sitting at 34.73. I started talking about this back here when we were getting ready to, well, I noticed that when we first broke out of this downtrend, and then we put in a higher low and broke out again. This is where I was buying, and right here was our price target, hit almost exactly, went just above. Now it is pulling back, and you can see here on the daily chart the RSI is oversold condition, so it's just getting ready to turn up. So this is more of a short-term play, or a good spot buy if you want to start getting in. And the reason I say short-term, because it's something that could last a couple days. Right now, the RSI on the weekly is overbought. So I do suspect we may come down a bit further and look for some support around 32.50, 31.80. But if we go back to the daily, we should continue to see a price movement upwards here for at least the next few days. And one of the stocks I wanted to mention is 𝗶𝗶, because on the RSI, it is also bottomed out, and it looks like it is about to move higher. Once we see this blue line on the stochastic turn up above the orange line, that is our golden cross. And every time that you get that cross, you see these pumps. So that's just something I wanted to point out, because I just placed a trade here as a swing trade or spot buy, long-term investment. We know the Chinese markets have been beat down for several years now. A lot of these markets are down 70, 80% or more. So I think this looks like it will be most likely the bottom here, and we will probably have several years of continued growth and prosperity in some of these emerging markets. IWM sitting at 205, opened up this morning, was up pre-market. Again, we just had to golden cross on the stochastic RSI. If we zoom out here a little bit, we can also see very similar to what we see in the emerging markets. We have this basing formation, and it looks like we are about to move higher. Series of higher lows and higher highs. So I think you are about to see these small cap stocks really take off. A lot of people are starting to talk about stocks like GameStop, and we're also entering that meme coin season, which is just around the corner, and that is where the life-changing wealth is made. Next up, I've got Mara. This is Marathon Digital, Bitcoin miner, series of higher lows, higher highs. Typically, what I had done in the past, when I did do some trades, I made some small trades here and there when I was working with portions of my portfolio. And what I would do is look for these type of trends, and typically I would try to buy in on this third touch of the trend line. I've been talking about this stock here for a while. Mentioned this back in, I believe it was October, November. I think it was November last year. Um, but you can see we really get some really good swings here of about 100% or so on some of these swings. And I think this one's going much, much higher as well over the next year or two. Now, this is not a stock that I would buy and hold as an investment. Overall, the price is coming down. But as the Bitcoin price goes up, so will these miners. All right, guys, if you're interested in buying stocks, commodities, or crypto, you can do so over on Robinhood. Right now, they are offering a 1% bonus and no cap when you transfer an outside brokerage account to Robinhood. They also offer 8 times the national savings rate, and they allow you to begin building your portfolio starting with just as little as $1. They, as I mentioned, you can buy stocks, cryptos. You can also buy options and ETFs, commission free. What I like about Robinhood is if you have a stock such as Nvidia that's over $1,000 and you only have $10, well, you can buy a portion of that stock. They also allow you to buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, and many more. If you're interested, there is a link down below. All right, guys, let's get into the altcoins. This is the total 3, and again, series of higher lows. We have the RSIs just turning over here. This is on the weekly, so this turned over. It was about 2 weeks ago, and it looks like it's about to move higher. So what you'll see here with any of these trades really is once the RSI starts getting above 20, you'll start to see uh, these movements up. But as it gets up to around that 50% range or so, is typically when you start to see the big movements up. And so that's just something to keep in mind when you're above that 50 and you're in that 70 zone. That's where you really start to see these big moves to the upside. If we go to the daily chart, you also see on the daily, this just ticked over. The previous one was on a weekly. That's what I want to hammer home to all of you is if you look at the longer term, I like to look at the long term because I do swing trading. And if you look at the longer term and understand where the longer term trends are going, then you can zoom in to the dailies and you can do the same thing on the hourlies and all that. Uh, but I don't like to sit behind a computer all day. I just try to get really good entries and then let things ride until something changes. And so I think that you will see the total three, which is everything but Bitcoin and Ethereum, um, do really well here over the next several weeks. Um, I could see some pumps here on some of these altcoins and Bitcoin. Of course, we'll be looking for Bitcoin to lead the way, but I think in general, right now we are probably going to see some pumps over the next couple weeks and probably some pullbacks and retest before we begin making higher highs. Ethereum setting at 37.76. I don't know here, guys. I thought we would see when we saw this 20% candle a couple days ago. I guess it was a couple weeks ago now. Um, excuse me. That we would see some sort of pullback. I'm not sure if that's going to happen because right now we have the RSIs coming up and we have the government's pushing, the SEC pushing to have these ETFs um, move forward basically, and they're asking these companies to refile. And so I think we could see this possibly run. I was hoping we'd see a pullback to like this mid-level here around 3,500, 36, 34 would have been a good entry. I think it's still possible. On the daily, you're coming down. So it's really kind of holding steady here. It looks like it might want to go up first. I'm not sure yet on this one. Excuse me, guys. But I think that it could continue to rise here. And I don't know. I still think we'll probably see a little bit of chop and some weakness maybe in the back half of June. So maybe it does come up, retest this area before it pulls back down to around that mid-level. I think currently best case scenario, if you're looking to get in, is around this 32, 3,300 zone. You've got this previous area that was acting as support, acting as resistance. So I think that could be a great entry one last time to get in if you see Ethereum come down to those levels. We also have the upwards sloping trend line, and this being the third touch. Solana 163.50. The RSI is at the bottom and moving up on the weekly, on the daily chart. It's just coming down to the bottom. Look at this, guys. It's about ready to cross over. So I can see Solana really start to take off. Guys, if you're interested in buying stocks, commodities, or crypto, you can do so at iTrust Capital. I use iTrust Capital and I rolled over a portion of my 401k with iTrust. iTrust allows you to buy, sell, and trade gold, silver, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and many more altcoins. This is where you will make life-changing money if you play this right. They allow you to buy in a tax advantage IRA. That way, when you make your gains, you are not taxed on them until you withdraw out of your IRA. And they offer low cost and no monthly fee plus 4,500 uh, 5-star reviews on Google. If you're interested, you can click the link down below. I do appreciate it. All right, guys, don't forget to follow me over at Mind of Financier on X or Twitter. I am Mind of the Financier on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. But you can follow me over here on Twitter, and I will post anything I see uh, having to do with the markets, including stocks, commodities, and crypto. That's mainly what I trade. I trade ETFs and stuff like that as well. But yeah, anything I see, I'll post over there. So be sure to go follow me over there as well to get the latest. All right, guys, happy Monday. I hope you all have a great week. I think that we are really going to start seeing some of these risk on assets really start to pump here in the next week or so, maybe two. Um, but yeah, happy Monday to you all. And until next time, I hope you all have a great week and be legendary. Take care and peace.